Hello, this is a bit of a nerd, and today we take a look at Martin Stoll's prominent work, Women in the Ancient Near East, which provides a comprehensive overview of the lives of women in ancient Mesopotamia and surrounding regions, drawing upon a vast array of cuneiform texts and other historical sources. The book explores the diverse roles, experiences, and legal positions of women in this ancient society from the earliest Sumerian periods to the Persian era. The book begins by emphasizing the wealth of available cuneiform texts that provide insights into ancient Mesopotamian culture. It acknowledges the challenge of reconstructing women's history due to the male-centric nature of most surviving records. Stoll highlights the diversity of women's roles, spanning from enslaved laborers to powerful queens and priestesses. The initial chapters of the book delve into the various stages of a woman's life, from girlhood to adulthood, including discussions of beauty standards, clothing, cosmetics, and naming practices. A significant portion of the book is dedicated to marriage customs, including betrothal, wedding ceremonies, and the legal and social aspects of marital relationships. It also examines family dynamics, fertility, childbirth, and women's roles as mothers. Stoll meticulously analyzes women's legal rights and obligations, covering such topics as marriage contracts, divorce, adultery, rape, and inheritance. The book also addresses the vulnerability of women in certain situations, such as being used as security for debts or enslaved due to economic hardship. As an example, I chose Section 40 of the Middle Assyrian laws, which are famously known for their cruelty. It deals with veiling and its restrictions. It outlines specific circumstances where veiling was not allowed. Lu asat aile, lu almanatu, ulu tenisatu assuraiatu, sa anarebete uttani, Tsena la patu. A wife of a man, or widows, or Assyrian women who go out in the main thoroughfare shall not have their heads bare. Charinto la tuptatan, katsa patu. Sa charinta patunta et amruni, it abbatsi, sebute isakan, anapi e kalle, وبلرسي سكوتسا لا إلك لبولتسا تبتانسا إلك خمسة إن خطات إما خطوسي كيرا أنا كديسا إتابكو. A prostitute shall not veil herself, her head shall be bare. Whoever sees a veiled prostitute shall seize her, secure witnesses, and bring her to the palace entrance. They shall not take her jewelry. He who has seized her shall take her clothing. They shall strike her 50 blows with rods. They shall pour hot pitch over her head. Amatu la optatsanama, sa amta patsunta et amruni, ittabatasi, anapi ekalle obalasi, Udznesa unakutsu. Bebitansa lubultasa ileke. Slave women shall not veil themselves, and he who should see a veiled slave woman shall seize her and bring her to the palace entrance. They shall cut off her ears. He who seizes her shall take her clothing. The book also explores the various roles women held in the economy and workforce, including weavers, flour grinders, musicians, singers, innkeepers, scribes, doctors, wailers, businesswomen, sex workers, servants, dream interpreters, and priestesses like Enheduanna, the daughter of Sargon of Akkad. For example, women played a significant role in Assyrian trade. So let's look at an old Assyrian letter. A weaver Lamassi, writing to her husband Pushuken, in the Assyrian colony of Kanish in Anatolia, addresses his criticism of her previously sent textile. She assured him that she is working hard to keep up a steady output of quality goods. Misusatastana perääniumatama tsubatisatustane belini ladamko. Mannum zacrum saina betikavas bonima, illakuma machrisu tsubati unnuhuni. Anaku assumeina haram serbilat kaspim limkutam tsubati ustekabma pasma usaballakum. Why do you write to me every time as follows? The textiles that you keep sending me are not good. Who is this man who lives in your house and who is criticizing the textiles when they get to him? It's for me, in order that from each caravan trip at least 10 shekels of silver accrue to your house. I try my best to make and send textiles to you. Stahl examines women's participation in religious practices, including their roles as priestesses, temple personnel, and participants in rituals. He also discusses the phenomenon of sacred marriage and women's involvement into divination and prophecy. Some women dedicated their lives to religion and lived in cloisters. However, some of them were integrated into society. These women were married, but, as far as we know, didn't have children. Examples include the Naditu of the god Marduk in Babylon, the Kadishtu, and the Kulmashetu. These titles all describe a holy woman who was not allowed to have children. These married religious women weren't allowed to have children, but whether they were virgins is less clear and should be questioned. Some omens mention unorthodox sexual behavior of a holy woman for purposes of contraception, leading some to believe they could have sex. However, omens don't always show what was usual. The book dedicates specific chapters to the lives of royal women, exploring their dynamics of harems and the influence of queens and priestesses in social and political spheres. For example, Kiru, the princess of Mari, is known to address her father Zimri-lim with political advice. Her life wasn't easy. She had a difficult experience after being given in marriage to Khayasuma, the king of Ilansura, 2 years after her sister Shimatum. In letters she wrote herself to her father Zimri-lim, without the help of official scribes, she described being mistreated by her husband and her sister. One of her letters reads, Anabeli ukakabi, umakiruma maratkama. Iktaruna pasti nasitamia watsimatim, sumabeli ul itarani anamari, atsabat api istuurim amakut. To my lord and my star, thus says Kiru, your daughter, I almost died when I heard Shimatum's words. If my lord won't get me back to Mari, I will jump off the roof in an instant. Her father's letters show the tension in the situation, which ultimately led to divorce. Eventually, after a few years of conflict and political changes, Princess Kiru returned home. In the concluding chapters, Stahl analyzes the diverse views and attitudes towards women in the ancient Near Eastern society, drawing upon both positive and negative portrayals in literature and legal texts. The book emphasizes that there was no single experience of womanhood in the ancient Near East. Women's lives varied significantly based on social class, economic status, and regional differences. While acknowledging women's agency and influence in certain areas, the book portrays the ancient Near Eastern society as fundamentally patriarchal, with men holding dominant positions in most aspects of life. Stahl's work highlights the crucial role of cuneiform texts in providing detailed information about women's life, including letters, legal documents, economic records, and literature. The book reveals the complex and sometimes contradictory roles women played in the ancient Near Eastern society, as both subordinate and influential, both vulnerable and powerful.